What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Renegade Marquee on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, we've got Hayden.
Hello.
We've got Scott.
We like scary movies.
And we've got Jayder.
How's it going, everybody?
And today, we are talking about Scream. Yes, the entire franchise, but mostly we'll be talking about the latest installment, simply titled Scream or Scream 5. But before we get there, I kind of want to know everyone's history with the franchise. Jayder, why don't we start with you? How exactly did you get into the Scream movies?
Completely by accident, man. So try to tell the story as quickly as I can, but I went to go, growing up across the street from where I lived, was a movie theater, right? And it was $1 to get in. It was one of those right before the movie went on sale for what was VHS at the time. They would just have those last minute movies, just trying to get the last minute money in there. So I went to go see this movie called That Darn Cat with Christina Ricci and Dougie Doug. Movie was not very good. I went with my cousins. This Scream came out in '96. I was 10 years old. And we went to go see this movie. And then my teenage cousin, that's 5 years older than me, she went with her boyfriend, now husband. Now it's crazy to think about that because they are married still. But they went to go see Scream. I had no idea what that was. I saw the title, obviously just seeing, the poster with, Drew Barrymore's hand over it. It was kind of, you just kind of get sucked into that. And while I went to go see That Darn Cat, that movie, it was so terrible. At least I never finished it. And I told my cousin, I'm like, dude, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go see that other movie. And I went and I caught it right in the beginning because I remember that their movie started like 25 or 30 minutes after us. And they're like, once your movie ends, play at the arcades. We'll wait for you guys here and then we'll walk back home. Right. So I knew the movie hadn't started, obviously with previews and everything. So I got there and it was legit the very, very beginning of the movie. I think I missed maybe a couple lines of dialogue because she hasn't been harassed by Ghostface at the time. And that opening scene scared the shit out of me. Right. And I was just sitting in my chair and I couldn't move. And it's one of those things that you see those in horror movies when the character gets so scared and they don't move. That legit happened to me. And I was just so drawn by this film and the characters and everything about it that when I saw it, I loved it. But when I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about everything that I had just witnessed. And it scared the shit out of me. I couldn't go to sleep. I remember actually crying and telling my mom that because my mom's noticed that I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning, and then I would get up and sit in my bed. And I guess she was checking out. She goes, "What's wrong with you?" She thought something happened to me in the movie theater, like something way worse, And she goes, "You can talk to me. What happened?" And then I start crying and tell her I saw a horror movie. And she goes, "Well, that's what you get for watching a movie you're not supposed to see." But something about it was like being a masochist of sorts, because I couldn't stop thinking about that movie to the point where I convinced my mom to please take me back to watch it. So I saw it again and I just became obsessed with it. And no lie, maybe, I don't know, I want to say a couple weeks later, less than a month later, it was out on VHS. I begged my mom to take me to Blockbuster to buy it. And it was just one of those tapes that I over and over and over again. And not part one, but from 2 to 5, I've seen every single one of them on opening night. Big fan of this franchise. But that was my introduction. And I feel like that was a lot of introductions to at least horror around my age. That was their first, I don't want to say rated R film because been watching rated R films for a long time. My mom never really restricted me. But it was the first horror movie where I'm like, man, this is a scary movie, but it was a cool thing. It wasn't a monster or anything. It was something that can really happen. So I remember I would have sleepovers with my friends, and that was like the movie we would watch right before we go to sleep. Like I made it my mission to show Scream to everybody. But yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've noticed this like among our friend group that Scream is like one of those like foundational films for people who either are just getting into horror or like me, I'm kind of a late bloomer when it comes to the genre. I only watched the Scream movies for the first time when I was in high school, and
wow.
but I never got around to seeing Scream 4 until honestly just recently. But I binge watched the entire trilogy with one of my friends, and just kind of fell in love with the characters and with just the concept of a whodunit slasher film, something we haven't really seen too much of. But yeah, this franchise is it's something really special. Um, Scott, what has your experience been with the franchise?
I don't I didn't really start watching horror until I was 17 with the with Child's Play and Seed of Chucky. Yeah, that well actually Seed of Chucky was first and then Child's Play. Yeah. Well, I think TV airings had something to do with that. But um as for Scream, it's the it's it was kind of the second horror franchise that I actually that grew on me. And I don't exactly remember how I watched it the first time, but I'm feeling like I think it was Matt Williams' Scream retrospective that actually might have had something to do with it. And then adopting those videos when he was shutting down and told everyone they could adopt it for their own, and I started uploading them, and so yeah, I've basically been a fan of Scream since, and the Chucky and Scream franchises have been the two that I've most held on to in the last 10 years. I was going to see it in it chapter. I think it was one, but that just didn't end up working out, and I still haven't seen either of the It films. So um, yeah, and admittedly, four I've seen the least, just because of who handled the distribution and how the films are split up within Weinstein's handlings, and
Oh yeah,
so four has never,
understandable.
yeah, four has never been with the original trilogy, at least as far as streaming goes. So
Hayden, what about you? Your experience with the franchise?
So speaking of Matt Williams's videos, there's something that he says in those that I felt really resonated when I watched those. So I'm just going to start with that. Is that he says that in a way, Scream is kind of his coming of age movie. And in a way, like that really resonated when I first watched those. And yeah, it's really been with me since I fell in love with horror and the genre. Incidentally, I am currently in Woodsboro, at least where it was filmed, up in Sonoma, for a variety for unrelated reasons. But right before the movie, I saw the movie for a second time. I actually stopped by the actual house where they shot Stumacher's party at the end of the first one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then right after that, ran to see it the second time. And throughout the years since I've been coming up here, I've been actually able to visit a lot of where the scenes in the franchise were filmed. Such as a fair distance from Casey's house, because that's basically inaccessible. So I got as close as I could. I've been to where they filmed the high school scenes.
That's amazing.
So this franchise is really important to me. And it's one that I just really gravitate towards. I even ordered Jada Pinkett's concessions order when I went to see 5 in theaters. I had to get
Good
that
stuff.
medium popcorn without butter and a Diet
Diet
Pepsi.
Coke, yeah.
All Diet
Yeah.
Pepsi because I had to.
Perfect.
So
That's
that
amazing.
just, I feel like that kind of shows what a rabid, weird Scream nut I am.
So before we get to the new film, what did your ranking look like beforehand? I know mine vaguely kind of looked like 1, obviously at the top. Fighting for the number 2 spot was 2 and 4. And then at the bottom is Scream 3.
After you ready?
Yeah,
Oh, Scott.
I'm kind of I like Scream 3, but I think I was trying to figure out, okay, what made besides the Roman stuff, the whole Roman engineering the entire series revelation, what might have brought down the approval of the public? And I think not Casey, obviously not Casey. Oh God.
TC?
Yeah. Well, her visions of her mother and how campy
Oh,
Sydney.
Yeah.
Sydney's visions of her mother and how campy and weird it looked might have had, I mean, it's probably not talked about as much, but I think that kind of probably weirded some people out. Although from what I've read about 5, it's kind of now become recurring. Not specifically Casey's visions of her mother, but visions of family members.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that, yeah.
So
You can
it might have
go ahead.
set the out thereist part of the movie might have set a precedent.
Yeah, for better or for worse, I can see where 3 might have influenced some elements from 5. Jayder, before you went into the new film, what did your ranking look like for the franchise?
So pre-watch, right? Getting ready for Scream 5, even though I've seen these movies each hundreds of times. It's always been 1, 2, 4, 3, right? Now preparing for 5, I started rewatch. I obviously did the rewatches. 1 stays there. 2 and 4 are kind of teeter-tottering back and forth. I don't know why 4, the more I watch it, it just keeps getting better and better and better for me. That was Scream 4 is the one that I watched the least. I saw it the day it came out. I actually loved it. And then just never saw it again until probably like a year later. I saw it one time and then again. I think in the span of 10 years, I've maybe seen Scream 4 besides now, but I saw Scream 4 maybe 3 to 4 times, like by far the lowest compared to all the other ones, right? And then just doing these rewatches now, I'm like, I don't understand why. And then why it's not so low, because there's only 4 films, but a lot of people don't like it. But rewatching 2, I find more things that bother me in that one now, which I thought was the superior sequel. When they mentioned best sequels, I always mention Scream 2. However, on these recent rewatches from me of Scream 2, there's little things that had just been bothering me about, like that Derek scene bothers the hell out of me where he's singing to her. And I guess it is the little light of the film, where you actually see Sydney smile for once. So I understand why they put it there, but I felt like, one of those and I don't like the theater scene for some reason. It's something that bothers me. The theater scene where why, if she's going through this panic and all this, and she's okay with doing a scene with people wearing masks, like it's a little traumatic. it doesn't make sense to me that they would put that in there. But other than that, the movie's tight. Where I feel like Scream 4, there's very little that I don't like about this film. There's a lot more that I do like about Scream 4, and every rewatch for me just keeps getting better and better and better. And I have a lot of friends that absolutely hate Scream 4, can't stand it. And every time I try to not try to explain to them, but I show them why I enjoy this film. They're like, man, that kind of makes sense. That kind of like, well, I know we'll probably talk about Ghostface, but I think Jill's one of the best. She's incredible.
Oh yeah, I gotta be honest. Even though I've only seen Scream 4 once, it's the one that I keep thinking about the most because of how great the reveal of Jill was.
Yep, I didn't see that coming out in the theater. I called Charlie. I'm like, it has to be him. It has to be Charlie. And then I'm like, I didn't know they were gonna go the Scream 3 route with just the single killer, or they were gonna go back, with the two killers. And because that's the fun of it all. You never know if it's gonna be 2 or 1. So you're always, if it's 2, it could be these 2. If it's 1, you have that one that you point to. But Charlie I'm like, if there's 2 killers, it's Charlie 100% and someone else. But I couldn't pin who it was. And when it ended up being Jill, because you're thinking that they're doing the whole pass the torch to the Jill character, that she's going to carry on and go and do the if there was any other sequels, that she was going to carry on with the Sydney legacy and all that.
Right.
It ends up being that she's the killer. Mind blowing. It was like, one of those standing ovations. I was one of the only ones watching that movie, by the way. Scream 4, I feel like it flopped, if I'm not mistaken. I was one of maybe 5 people in that theater. And I remember I was like, oh my God, like completely mind blown that she was the killer. I thought it was so great.
It is weird how that film has kind of gained somewhat of a cult following, because as of right now, Scream 5 has almost made about as much domestically in its opening weekend as
the whole run for Scream 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Hayden, your pre-5 ranking?
So I'm going to be very pedantic because I don't feel I can do a traditional ranking. What I can do is kind of break down my opinions on each one in sort of this weird wibbly wobbly tier of what I like about each. I do have one at the very bottom, mind you, which I do still like, but regardless. First one I consider the objectively best, cannot be topped as a consistently well done movie. Mm-hmm. Everything that has been said about it is true. It's a very well done, very tight movie. 2, I will say, I think is actually arguably the scariest entry, in that it has the scenes that genuinely just I think are genuinely incredibly disturbing. Particularly the opening scene.
Yep.
And especially the car scene closer to the end. It just the tension in that scene.
The tension in that scene is insane.
Every time I'm just grabbing something because it makes me incredibly nervous, and I feel in a lot of ways where Wes Craven kind of peaked with his direction. Scream 3 is probably my least favorite, although I have grown to appreciate it in recent years, and especially Parker Posey being amazing, because she's amazing in everything she does. So
she is the scene stealer.
Hands down the best character in Scream 3.
And I really like all the stuff they do with Sydney. I think they do some really interesting psychological stuff. The scene of her walking into the set, replicating her life, and just her analyzing the fact that all of the trauma is now just a set in a movie. And I just think there's something really powerful and interesting about that. And unfortunately, what brings it down is, I don't think the killer is particularly memorable. I The second he took off his mask, my first watching, I was like, wait, who is that again?
you know you have a bad villain
you
when
know, you know I'm not gonna lie to you. The exact same thing happened to me in the theater.
Yeah.
And
I-
it was spoiled
I'll
for
also
me.
say that I kind of forgot that Posey's character even had a death scene. But
Yeah. She
Um,
does that.
and
But
also,
that.
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go
No. Just very quick. So Scream 3 I saw opening day, but I saw it at night, and a buddy of mine saw it beforehand. He called me to tell me how awesome it was, but he ends up telling me the killer's Sydney's brother, and I'm like, you fucking asshole. Sorry if I'm not allowed to cuss. I cuss up a storm.
Don't worry about it.
All right, cool. So I tell him, and I'm like, why would you say that? He's like, you're not gonna know who it is. It's fine. Just know that that's the killer. I'm like, yeah, but I know motive, man. This sucks, right? I was in middle school when that movie came out, and I went to go see it, and even at same thing, he takes off his mask, and I'm like, who is that? Completely for it was kind of like the Clark Kent, because he was wearing the glasses the whole time, and then he takes off his mask. There's no glasses on him, and I couldn't recognize him. So I was like, oh shit, yeah, So it's funny you touched on that, because I had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So also what I do like is, I think it's also another movie that is more relevant, like Scream 4, which I'll get to. Scream 3 has that thing where it really does touch. It does arguably bite the hand that feeds it, because it is very anti casting couch Hollywood industry common practice. And meanwhile, you have Harvey Weinstein as the producer on it, and I just think it's hilarious.
It was very ahead of its time.
It's like very like, you look on it now, and I'm just kind of thinking, okay, with the Me Too movement and all that, I'm kind of leaning on appreciating this a little bit more now.
though, was it really ahead of its time, or trying to send you coded messages,
That's a good point.
trying to whistleblow, basically?
Right.
Touche.
Could go either way. So to that end, I think and also it does work if you watch it as a live action Scooby-Doo movie.
I was gonna say, like, that was my thought watching like the pretty much everything in the mansion.
Yeah. And then we get to Scream 4. Scream 4 is it means a lot to me, because that is the first one that I ever saw in theaters. I was there opening day, and I was 16 at the time, so I had to have my dad take me, and so that has a lot of fun memories for me. And like what was said before, Jill, great friggin' Ghostface, probably my favorite. And what I like is also, again, how weirdly ahead of its time that feels now, with her character, and just her being so hungry for fame. And in the age of the internet, I just think that has its own kind of resonance that I think has really boosted its appeal now. And
honestly, I think Scream 4 is the full realization of what Mickey wanted in 2.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
And also, I just really want to touch on Hayden Panettiere's performance as Kirby.
Yes,
MVP,
The best character in 4.
She's great. And I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. I don't know if any of you noticed the little Easter eggs.
YouTube, the best.
in a 5 that they have, but if you're looking closely at some scenes, there's a little blink and you miss it stuff about Kirby. So keep an eye out when you go see it, if you haven't already.
And on that note, I think it's time to actually get into the movie.
And although there is one more thing I wanted to mention. The opening scene of 2 just feels so alien, because, well, not it feels like alien movie. I mean, it feels so foreign because of the weapons being brought in, the fact that everyone's costumed up when that's basically been stripped away from the movie-going experience.
That is pretty interesting. Like you don't really see that happening much in movies anymore in light
because of shootings and
exactly.
Which is another weirdly prescient aspect of Scream 2 now.
Yeah.
It's funny how much these movies have like slowly and subtly influenced the real world. But now we move on to Scream, the fifth installment, directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, also known as Radio Silence, from a screenplay written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, which takes place 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, California. A new killer dons a ghost face mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. Now, I have to stress that this is a podcast that will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, this is your warning. So Jayder, I'm going to start with you since you've probably seen this movie the most out of all of us. Your impressions?
I was very lucky. I got to see this movie 10 days early. Now, what sucks about seeing a movie 10 days early is that you can't talk to anybody about it besides the people that were in the theaters. And if they're not your friends, then you're pretty much stuck thinking about this movie over and over and over again. But I was thankfully invited by Paramount Pictures to review this film. Same day as everybody else, to be honest with you. I usually get them a little bit later, like they'll have the world premiere or the red carpet event, and then I'll get invited like 2-3 days later. But I actually saw it at the same time that everybody else did. It was a specific time that they wanted everybody to see it at the same time, and then they were gonna have more screenings after that. So I was very they told me, hey, do you like the Scream films? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And so I got invited. Almost missed the screening, which was crazy because I thought it was at 7 o'clock and it ended up being at 5, and I rushed, just like Deputy Judy, trying to get to West, man, trying to make my screening. And I actually missed the first I think like 3 minutes of the film the first time I saw it, but got there just through the meat and potatoes of it all, where it started getting very, very thick. I was trying to contain myself watching this movie because I was hyped for it. It was in my top 3 most anticipated films for 2022. Excuse me. And I knew it came out in January. I had, you hear these January films dropping, and usually it's because it's the dump of Hollywood. That's where they take their dumps. And I'm like, oh my god,
personally, I don't think it's been that way since
it hasn't they've been,
because
Kung
Fu Panda 3 was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wow.
Well, that's one. I really enjoyed 13 Hours, Paddington, Bad Boys 3. Like, I really enjoyed those films where I was like, all right, these aren't that bad. They could have been a lot worse. So, but you can't help but still have that feeling in the back of your head, no matter what, right? I'm like, why wouldn't they release it just a couple months early during Halloween or something like that? But it was actually a very, very smart move that they didn't, in retrospect. However, I went to see it. I was trying, again, as a mega fan of this franchise, where I'm trying to calm myself with the my anticipation, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, I legit felt like that movie was talking to me. Like, we know that you're thinking this, and we are gonna tell you that we already know that you're thinking this. And I just felt like little things like that, seeing again when you get to Jenna Ortega in the very beginning, when she picks up the knife, it's a little little tip to the hat to Casey's character, right? To Drew Barrymore's character, pardon me. Seeing that Riley had Tatum's ashes, a little box that said Tatum on it, just little things like that I was picking up. And I'm like, man, this is great. And I'm watching it and watching it, and it ends And I went out and I knew one girl that was there, and she's like, "What'd you think?" And I'm like, I think I loved this movie, but I feel like I don't know if it's the hype of me seeing it early. I'm like, I gotta watch it again, but I'm like, it's up there for me. It's great. And then she goes, I only remember the first one, and I think this movie was fantastic. So she's like, so you're not wrong. So if you're a fan of this, I can only imagine how you feel. But you know, we're gonna get, obviously we'll probably go scene for scene, but just overall feeling, that's where I was. I walked out of there absolutely glowing about the movie. I absolutely loved it on my first watch. I knew it was something special. I was happy. When I was writing my review, the first thing I wrote was actually love and respect. And I wrote, this is something that you wouldn't hear coming out of a Scream review or a Scream film. But I'm like, but I felt like this movie was treated with love and respect to Wes and love for that franchise. That's pretty much me walking out of there. But I mean, we'll jump scene to scene. I have so much that just so many Easter eggs that I caught on repeat viewings and all that. So I know we're gonna get into it, but go ahead, guys.
Hayden, I'll go to you next.
So before this movie came out, I wanted to be as blind as I possibly could. So I completely went off of social media. I deleted both Facebook and Twitter off of my phone, and I refused to look at Rotten Tomatoes that Thursday night until I had finally seen it. And the reason I did this was because I wanted to go in with a completely fresh perspective, just knowing nothing except for the trailer. And I really didn't want to have my mind affected by what other people thought. And like you said, that January release, while I knew that has been changing over the last few years, it did still dwell in the back of my mind. So there was that bit. I trusted Radio Silence 1000%, but well, not 1000% because you know what I mean. But I trusted them because I love Ready or Not. And so I was very, very cautiously hyped, if that's a term that I can invent.
Cautiously excited is something I use constantly with DC films, boss. So that is a true term.
So I did that, and I went to see it, and I didn't want to get spoiled because I unfortunately got a little bit spoiled before Scream 4 came out, thanks to the IMDb forums. Remember those? Anyway. And I walked out being very pleased, and as of now, I will say that although I think 4 means a lot to me personally and emotionally, 5 is probably the objectively quote unquote better film. And it's a really solid, worthy entry. And after Scream 4's underperformance, this rebound feels so good. Also, can we just really quickly, briefly touch on how this is the first Scream entry without a Weinstein credit to its name? Which
2 thumbs up, guys.
Hell yeah!
Look where we're at.
When watching one
look
of
at us now.
So that feels friggin' great, and
I'm still a little disappointed that because I know the trilogy was still on Paramount Plus like recently within the last month, but somewhere it got taken off.
Yeah.
Oh, were they? I rewatched them on Peacock, and then 3. I own them all, but I know streaming wise is so much easier.
I don't have a physical media setup, so.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I own all of them as well, so that is what I did with this rewatch. So whenever I was rewatching these, you kind of have to do that. Weinstein, yeah.
It's funny. I had to go to like 4 different sites to watch like each of the movies. I had the first one on Vudu. The second one I had to watch on Peacock. The third one I borrowed my friend's Stars account, and then I just went ahead and bought 4 on YouTube.
Good man.
So going into 5, I the hype for 5 began a couple years ago when I watched Ready or Not, which I absolutely adored. And then I heard the news a few months later that that Matt and Tyler were involved in a Scream reboot, and I just figured, oh well, this is perfect. I mean, yeah, it's been like half a decade since we lost Wes, and I don't think Kevin Williamson is coming back to write another one of these. So who better to take the helm of a Scream movie than the people who were basically inspired by the original? And you feel that love and inspiration in like the film itself, with the way it references the state of horror in like the modern age. They mentioned elevated horror, like the Babadook, Hereditary. Even Jordan Peele gets a shout out.
Yeah.
They even address like toxic fandom. This movie honestly has like the exact same energy as the first one.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's as good, it will be debated, but just on the whole, I loved this movie. And earlier today, I saw it for a second time in the Dolby theater, and that just crystallized.
It just elevates it, right? It's just I've had the pleasure of watching it. The 3 times that I watched it, the screening was in Dolby. My original tickets that I had bought when the tickets first went on sale were Dolby tickets, and then I finally got to take my girlfriend yesterday. We went to see it last night, and she's like, "I'm not watching anything that's not Dolby. I have to watch it in Dolby." I'm like, "All right." So I've seen it 3 times in the Dolby theater, and
Nice.
it's fantastic.
So
But just kind of to touch on very quick on what you were saying, I felt like this movie just understood the assignment for the
Yes.
times, just like Scream, the original Scream did for its time, where it was like, all right, let's talk about slasher films, but no, the do's and don'ts and all that, the whole meta comment, right?
Yeah.
They understood the toxic fandom. They understood every the whole requels. They mentioned the Ghostbusters films. They mentioned Star Wars. They mentioned everything that's been going on Hollywood lately, right? They even give Ryan Johnson a shout out, which I thought was hilarious, because apparently Ryan Johnson shits on Stab fans as well as Star Wars fans, and I thought that was hilarious because he was the director of Stab 8. So I found that to be so funny in that movie. And again, I was one of the only ones laughing in the theater. There's a lot of moments in this that had me just laughing so hard. I felt like it was one of the funnier ones.
I did find it a little peculiar that so few Stab films were released in the past decade.
Yeah, it's interesting how in universe they're already up to Stab 8, where it's been a decade since the last one. I'm kind of curious to know the details of the Stab films that we didn't get to see.
Well, we already had 7 for Scream 4.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that Stab 8 in their universe probably came out give or take around
3 years ago.
2020 in a universe where COVID didn't happen.
Probably.
Question mark. Because they said like the new one that just came out. So
I think they said like a year ago in the movie,
something like that. So yeah, and I was gonna just say something real quick. I dropped it. So in reference to Dolby, that was how I saw it the second time. What I was gonna do for the first time, and I was pretty devastated when this got canceled, was that here in LA they were supposed to do a marathon of all 4 movies leading up to 5 at midnight, and then because I'm presuming Omicron reasons, that got canceled.
Yeah.
Aw,
So,
man.
and I
That
purchased
sucks,
tickets.
dude.
I purchased tickets. I think like a little under a year ago. I got them like really early as soon as I saw the ad on my feed, and so. But what I did do was first night I got tickets to see it in 40X, which was its own fun thing because then the seats would.
I heard
move
you feel.
along
I heard you
the
feel
camera.
every stab.
Yeah, like it was really fun to see, and I saw it in an audience filled with people wearing, ghost face
Ghostface,
shirts,
right.
and that was
Nice.
really fun. And then in the second time in Dolby, which was great in its own way, I was one of the few people there. So in its own way, that was very nice just to be able to be distant from people in these,
Yeah. I saw a meme actually, which is funny, which was saw Scream 5 in 40X, and then they had Matthew Lillard saying, "I'm feeling woozy here." I thought that was really funny. But yeah. But so what did you guys feel about actual Ghostface? Like or the opening scene. Let's talk opening scene. Let's try to go in order. So what did you feel? How did you guys rank that opening scene? What did you guys feel on that?
I thought the opening scene was a great update on the original, and something I kind of picked up on the second time was that like the major difference between Tara and Casey is that she wasn't supposed to die. She is just bait to get Sam and her boyfriend to Woodsboro, which I thought was clever for the killers, and it shows they're really playing the long game. And even just in general, with each passing film, Ghostface becomes a more he becomes a more meticulous planner, and isn't just a psychopath with a knife, which I kind of appreciate.
Now, I do have a question. I haven't seen it yet, but do they bother mentioning about Jill and whether her story falls apart, or did it just get drowned out by the modern news cycle?
they don't really mention her.
There was
very
no
much.
mention.
Yeah.
There was no mention.
They just say, but they leave it off as the last incident in Woodsboro happened 10 years
2011, I think.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
they leave it at that.
So yeah, drowned out in the modern news cycle, because like when being Twitter's main character for the day, basically, and then moving on to whatever happens next, and it then gets forgotten about. And because I figured I'd ask, because there's always like when Dean Browning was caught with his catfishing mask off, that brought up Rachel Dolezal. So there's
Okay.
So there's always a chance of specific reference that even on a story of however long ago.
Oh yeah.
What I will say is that compared to the others, which I think is ultimately a good, smart enough move, is that this is probably the least focused on the core three of the franchise compared to the others, at least. So Sydney, Dewey, and Gale are all there, obviously, but they're not like as much of a focus as they are in something like Scream 4.
I think this might be the first time. Well, it is the first time that the killer has almost nothing to do with Sydney herself. I mean, it's not to be clear. Sydney's not the target, but
she wasn't the target. It was a bonus.
Yeah.
She was just, it was just, hey, why not? But yeah, I agree. I think well, going back to the opening scene, I thought Jenna Ortega I think steals the show, right? I think she was probably my standout next to Jasmine Savoy Brown. Those were my two favorite characters. Who plays Mindy Meeks, Randy's niece. But Jenna Ortega's every scene that she's in that she needs to be scared, right? Where she's, fearing for her life. I think
She
she just
really pulls off.
nails it, dude.
Yeah,
She
she does.
pulls it, man. And
She does a really great.
she was fantastic in this. And it was again kind of breaking their own rules, right? This was the first time where um the opening scene where there's no actual kill, right? And again, you stated earlier that she wasn't a target. It was more of a trying to lure Sam back to Woodsboro. Um, but just even then, like we all know, obviously the most brutal Ghostface killing, at least for me, was the opening for Scream 1. But even this one, I wasn't expecting, even though they did it in Scream 4 where she puts her hand up, I wasn't expecting that for some reason. And then them breaking her leg and all, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I just felt like this Ghostface was really, really brutal. And it's something that I felt Scream 4 started bringing back the brutal, but I felt like Scream 3 and even 2, like it was like stab, stab, and then kind of go away. I felt like this one they actually showed more of the actual stabbings happening in this one versus the other one. So I felt like the Ghostface in this one was a lot brutal, which is something that I liked. And one thing that I actually loved too were the shots on Ghostface. The cinematographer knew how to capture that, or the director
Mhm.
knew how to capture those Ghostface moments. In the hospital scene specifically, man, it just looks so great seeing him on the big screen.
I can't explain why, but for some reason like the hospital, I don't know if it's just like the way that specific location was shot, but just the way hospitals are kind of set up makes it the perfect atmosphere to have a bloody massacre.
Yeah,
because it's so clean and sanitized, and the very white outfits, and whether the very bright coat.
Yeah, but also just the way it was lit, with the lights out and just like very dim lighting, just kind of it made those scenes just perfect.
One quick anecdote of why Scream 3 did tone down a lot of the blood was because it did come out like right after Columbine.
Yeah,
Or
that
at
makes
least
sense.
or
And
at
therefore,
least it was produced right after Columbine. I think it
right.
was.
So they kind of said, "Hey, can you tone down the blood?" And they relented, but that is the ultimate reason why 3 is the least bloody.
Is that
Yeah.
supposed to mean like how in the increments of 10 that we've become more and more desensitized to all this?
I think it's more just how, I guess, censors are sort of being a little more lenient now, and that was just in the wake of a tragedy of that variety. But yeah, I guess that could also be thinking on it. But yeah, food for thought.
Now speaking of the physicality of Ghostface, we'll get to the reveal of the killer in just a second, but something I kind of noticed the second time was like you get a little bit more clues of like who is doing the specific killings at what time, based on the way that Ghostface is shot. Like there are some scenes where he's more bulky, and there's others where they're pared down. And I thought that was a nice touch.
Actually, real quick, could I just add something about Scream 4? Real quick. So something about Scream 4 is that if you look hard enough, there is actually an extended cut that adds some extra scenes that I actually think is a little better. In that I think it develops a lot of the characters a little bit more. It gives them more to do, and you can kind of see them. And there's, I guess, some more maybe hints that if you know the ending, that you can really chew on that. I just wanted to bring that up.
Huh.
Interesting. So if you look hard enough, try to find the Scream 4 extended version, because I think it's actually a bit of an improvement.
I will definitely look into that.
I got some homework to do, dude. I've never seen it. That's awesome. I've never seen it. I've only seen, I think the only one that I've seen a director's cut of has been the original, which is, I don't know if you guys have seen that one, the director's cut. It's little minor scenes, like the when they gut Steve in the beginning, you actually see the intestines rolling out of his stomach.
I think I might have owned the director's cut at one point.
Yeah. The one they released it originally, it was only the director's cut. Because I remember seeing it in theater, like I said, and that would have traumatized me as a kid. And then when I got it at home video, I had already seen it. I was like, oh, what the hell? Because I had never seen the actual.
Because it got an NC-17 and they had to do some trims.
Yeah, that, and then at the end when when Billy and Stu are stabbing each other, there's a shot that pans from them two just stabbing, and it goes down to Neil, and Neil's on the floor, and you just see a pool of blood just dripping right next to Neil, and it's Stu's blood that he's losing. So those are like just little tiny scenes that just made that difference. And Tatum's thing, they don't pan out from it at all compared to the to that cut, to the R-rated versus the uncut version. You see the actual everything happen to Tatum. Yeah.
So getting back to 5, I have to ask, what do you guys think of the new friend group? Jayder, I'll start with you. I know you said Mindy was one of your favorite characters. What about the rest of them?
So loved Mindy. I actually loved everyone. And one of the main complaints that I keep hearing from this film is the fact that they're like, oh, there was no character development for any of these characters. And I think that's completely wrong. I think everyone in this movie, there was not one character that I'm like, whatever. I felt like everyone served their purpose for the film. I think they were, a lot of people were just expecting more characters, I don't know, to survive. I'm like, this is a slasher film. They did what they needed to do. Most of these characters were gonna be pawns. The one character, honestly, that I wanted to see a little bit more of was, what's this guy's name?
Are you talking about Kyle Gallner's character?
Kyle Gallner's character. I wanted to see a little bit more of him. He was a little bit of a focus, you know, when you I don't know if he did a Scream mask though, did he? Did he do you know how they had the posters with the individuals holding the ghost face mask?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he had one or not, but you know, he's someone that obviously you see him. I like them I don't like the Nightmare film, but I like but I liked him in it. I thought he was a pretty good character in it. So I don't know.
Respect for Jennifer's Body.
Jennifer's Body is another one. Yeah. So there was a couple of movies that he did do where I'm like, all right, I wanted to see a little bit more of him, and you know, surprise, surprise, he's not in the movie for more than 10-15 minutes. Which, going back to that scene just very, very quickly, the unofficial Scream song, Red Right Hand, the way they used it in this movie was so great. I couldn't help but smile from ear to ear.
Same.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, yes, because I listened to that song religiously. And
so it's not just like an ending theme or like a town arrival theme or.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, it's the unofficial Scream theme. But they always incorporate it in every single film. But the way they use it, and again, seeing it in Dolby and the car revving up, and just that bass in that theater, I'm like, yes, bro, give me some more of this. And then they pause it, and then they continue it right after. Perfect use. But yeah, I liked everything. I'm Latin, right? I'm Latino. I'm always gonna root for. Yeah. So I'm going to root for the minority characters in this, and I felt like they all, between Jenna and Melissa Ortega and Jasmine and Cuba Gooding Jr. I hate that I call him my Mason Gooding. I'm like, I hate that I call him Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. But I love that they were like kind of like in the forefront of this, man. It was a good year for Latinos within the Heights and with West Side Story, and just seeing them in a horror film.
And Melissa Barrera was
I'm telling you,
Vanessa in The Heights. So
yeah,
having a good
having a great year, man. And I felt again, I wasn't one as much as I love this franchise. I wasn't mad that our legacy characters were put, were put to the side. It didn't upset me. They served the story that they need. They're telling the story that they needed to tell. And again, as a fan of this franchise, if this means that they got to pass this torch to this new set of kids, or this new set of cast, I'm all for it. We've seen Sydney's story.
Because they already did it once with 4, and that turned into something of a false start. So to try to make that an emphasis again just feels a little
Yeah. Agreed. So them doing this, I again was like, I'm okay with this. This did not piss me off. Like, again, I'm part of the fan pages and blogs, and I'm all about Scream. I'm always reading news or what did people feel, and I thought for some reason this movie was just going to be a home run with everybody, and it turns out to be that the writers kind of hit the nail on the head. It's turned out to be exactly what they wrote about.
Yeah, exactly.
So something I want to bring up that I think is actually really interesting about the new cast, and I think it did actually help them. Because I was reading a lot of interviews about the making of this movie. So because of COVID, the cast was all they all auditioned over Zoom, and they had actually, until shooting, they hadn't actually really met each other. But what they did was they put them all, prior to shooting, in their own COVID bubble, in their own quarantine bubble, so they would all interact and get to know each other, and it kind of, according to them, had this real summer camp camaraderie that developed between them. And I think in a way that really shows, and you can really see this kind of natural chemistry kind of pop as a result of that. And
especially when summer camp is such an iconic horror location, to have that vibe going in.
Yeah,
because it wasn't a location that Scream had ever used, so to get that vibe, it also
that actually is something I would love to see in the future. If they ever set a Scream film at a summer camp, that would be a lot of fun.
They can probably do a lot with that, actually.
Although Fear Street, I believe that was 78. Kind of covered that. So
great little three-parter there. I actually loved it.
Yeah, I love that.
I thought they were really good.
And also to that end about minority characters, I think it was really cool that Mindy, they establish her as the first openly, directly, unabashedly queer character of the franchise. They've hinted at it before with the one cop in Scream, with that one bodyguard in Scream 2, and Robbie in Scream 4, but they hadn't really...
I didn't like the way they executed it with Robbie, though.
They
butchered that, man. That was I didn't like that at all, man. And I'm all for it.
Right, which is kind of why I'm saying I'm glad that they have one where it's finally just where there's no ambiguity like there wasn't for.
And again,
it's straight up. And also to that end, the actor is also openly queer as well. And
did you see her Scream her Ghostface poster? She has a little rainbow pin. I thought it was great.
Right, and that's in the movie as well. You can
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She does,
Also,
and honestly, one of the best again, she was my favorite character. We got our Randy back basically. That's who we
Yeah.
got because Wes and Kevin Williamson both hated the fact they regretted. Now I want to say hated. They regretted the fact that they killed off Randy so early because they could have used him for so much more. And I feel
Mhm.
like this is a way of honoring the character because they are related, and just pushing our Randy character going forward. Hopefully we get more of them. Hopefully I feel like we will get a sequel because of the money that it made.
yeah.
Oh,
I feel like it's a
it is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
yeah.
And
So
I also don't know if this is for sure. So I am just going, like, I'm just really hypothesizing here. I noticed that and this is for a number of reasons. I know because I was very pleased, I will say, with the return of Heather Matarazzo as Martha Meeks, because I always love seeing her in things, and it's really nice to see her back. What I noticed is that because I know that Heather Matarazzo is openly gay, I noticed that both Chad and Mindy have a hyphenated last name. So they didn't establish it for sure, but I'm kind of wondering if they're suggesting that they have two moms, or in honor of Heather Matarazzo, and it's just something that I thought about and I've just wondered about, and I think that would be really cool if they did that to honor her. It would,
Because really,
that's an interesting take. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
Martha didn't, because of her one scene being to deliver Randy's message, she doesn't really have any agency. So to really flesh her out here was a really good move.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I don't think she was really fleshed out that much because she's still only in one scene, but the fact that Randy's legacy continues is still pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Did you guys, speaking of names, did you catch Sydney's husband's name?
Mark.
Mhm. Mark Kincaid.
Mhm.
Mark Kincaid. That was a nice little surprise there. I like that they said Mark, and I'm like, man, that is badass. I didn't catch
that's a
that
deep
until
cut.
the second one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Until the second viewing, I didn't pick it up. And it was actually funny enough, Janine was the one that was like, did you notice the name? And I'm like, and then she's like, it's Mark. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh my God. And then like we had like a big combo on that because I was the one that told her about the little YouTube video because she was gonna go see it for the second time. I'm like, did you catch it the first time? And she's like, no. And then I'm like, look to your right. As soon as and I caught something else. I don't know if you guys caught it the third time I saw it. I kept scrolling down, and there's another little cut there. I don't know if you guys caught what was after that. So it mentions the character that we were talking about earlier, and then it mentions something about Ryan Johnson, and then it mentions a character from part one. I don't know if you guys caught that or not.
I don't think I caught that.
Okay.
But I definitely caught.
Again, it's one of those things that blink and you miss. The only reason why I caught the character thing the second time, because I didn't catch it the first time, was because my eyes, just when the scene switched, my eyes happened to lock in there, and I was like, oh my, like it wasn't until opening night that I caught that. Yesterday I caught something else where I was like, holy shit. I don't know if you guys want me to tell you or not, if you guys want to watch it.
No.
It's one of
tell me now so I can look for it later.
all right, no, you want me to say it?
Yeah, go.
What
go
it is?
for it.
Okay. So it says true crimes, and then it says, did the real Stu Macher survive? Question mark.
Oh, that's cool.
That is badass.
Also, we forgot to mention the last name of Kyle Gallner's character. It was Macher.
Macher, yeah, they mentioned that. They mentioned that he was Stu's sister's son, so he was his nephew.
Yep.
Which that was pretty wild. Yeah. That was actually.
I don't think they established his last name is Macher. I think they
no. They said that that he was Stu's sister's son.
What I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't the last name. It was just that was the relation to, because they're like, oh, why'd they kill that random, I forget his name. Vince guy. Vince. They're like, why'd they kill that random Vince guy? And then they're like, oh, Dewey's like, that's for you to find out. And then like I think like a minute or 2 minutes later, they're like, oh, I just Googled his name. He's related to his mom is so and so, Stu Macher's sister. And I was
Okay,
like,
yeah,
holy
that's
shit, it's his nephew. So that was pretty wild too. Yeah, there was a lot of little things, man, that I absolutely loved. The ending, the actual party when they were the banner, that it was kind of like a meta thing because it was for Wes, but it was a
oh
memoriam for Wes Craven. So I thought that was pretty neat as well.
yeah.
That true crime thing about Stu possibly surviving might be something of a nod to Willard's cameos in 2 and 4.
Yeah,
He's in
Oh,
4
yeah.
as well. I've only
in
known about
2.
2.
He's in
Yeah,
2.
he's in 2. He's in the frat party right when Randy is giving Elise Nielsen and Sydney their drink, or is it Rebecca Big Gayheart? No. Yeah, it's Sydney and Elise Neal's character. You see him in the back. He's very blurred. I paused it so many times when I first heard about that. I'm like, oh, there he is. It's blurred. He's in the back. He has blonde hair and he has glasses on. But I didn't know he was in 4. Is that a thing or no?
He's apparently at the Stabathon party.
Oh wow.
I did.
That's cool.
I now that you remembered, I think I now that you mentioned, I think I do remember that now.
It sounds familiar. I've never been able to catch him in 4.
Yeah, no, not at all. Did you guys catch also the little Roman cameo?
I might have. Was it on the YouTube page?
No. It was on. It's the second attack on Jenna in the hospital. She's watching TV. She's watching Dawson's Creek. It's the Halloween episode.
Oh.
Scott Foley comes out on the TV, which I thought was really cool as well.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I was watching this movie. The first time when you watch it, the second time I was like, where is it? And I was like trying to find like all these little things and just really listening to all the little details. That's why I thought, again, I'm gonna repeat this, man, but love and respect, right? It's something that you can tell that this movie was made by fans or people that just adore. And I wrote that on my original when the social media embargo came out. That's one of the things that I wrote. I'm like, you can tell this was written by people that just adore this film, this franchise. And then obviously, people don't feel the same. But I feel, again, they hit the nail on the head. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the motive now.
We'll get there in a second, but first we kind of
is Sheriff Hicks the first non-survivor to really have an active role in a subsequent film from the because usually it's only the survivors that carry over film to film.
Right. Sydney, Gale, and Dewey. And yes.
Yeah, I want to say she is.
Which is pretty nice because after a while, just resetting up with just whoever survives gets a little old. I mean, sure, it's only been 4 subsequent films from the first, but
one thing that does kind of bug me, speaking of kind of resetting the status quo, is it feels like each sequel kind of like undoes the relationship between Gale and Dewey at some points.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been something that kind of frustrated me, and that may have something to do with their relationship in real life. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so, well, what's interesting about the franchise and their relationship is that, well, they met on the set of the first one.
Naturally.
They started dating on the set of the second. They got back from their honeymoon early just to do 3. Like literally they cut their honeymoon short in Hawaii just to go to the set of Scream 3. Right before Scream 4 came out, they divorced.
Yep.
Right before. And so, and I kind of feel like in a way here I think it felt more earned, so to speak. And also I will say that before Scream 2, they did have a bit of an on again, off again thing, to my knowledge. I think it was before.
This was art imitating life.
I think
That's
this
exactly
was
what I was
a
going
lot
to
of
say.
ways art imitating life.
It's like that point where 10 years of whatever bickering or like even post-divorce bickering that they might have had, somewhere along the lines, they just put it aside and became amicable. And then, well, she's able to affirm that she did love him, even, well, we haven't said it yet.
Yeah.
It was kind of telegraphed by some of the marketing was kind of pushing down that path.
So we should just cut to the chase then.
Very good choice of words.
Dewey's Dewey's last stand.
Yeah, man.
Although I do have one question. Does Tatum get brought up in the context of being his sister? Because
I don't.
It's really a blink and you'll miss it scene of you seeing.
Yeah.
There's no actual verbal Tatum mention. He has a box. I don't want to say with her ashes. I don't know.
I was assuming it was her ashes.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, but it's a square box and it says Tatum on it.
Because none of the sequels, like they mentioned Tatum, but it was more in the context of being one of the original victims.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think this was their way of kind of compensating for that while not going full force with it.
Yeah. So let's talk about Dewey's last stand, because this might be his. I think this might actually be his most badass moment.
I agree with you 100%. This is actually, it sucks to say, one of my favorite scenes of the film. But it's just the way everything played out, right? You have him, he didn't want to help. He ends up, having that heart that he always needs to help, and he always has to do what's right, just like, very true to the Dewey character. And one thing that I want to say also, that we didn't really mention much of the legacy characters, but that man showed up to work. David Arquette showed up to work, man. This was probably my favorite rendition of Dewey since the original.
Oh, yeah.
He was just like not as goofy. He had very funny lines. Hits the nail on the head in the very moment you see him, where he's like, who's this guy, this and that and that. Like, he just, like, it's so great that they brought that up, and then they kind of bring it back up at the ending when they're like, dude, like, it was right there, right in front of you the whole time. But the only thing I felt, we all saw the trailer, and I'm pretty sure that we all got goosebumps when you hear Sydney, it's an honor. That, for me, when I heard that, I'm like, that is such a sick line, right? But kind of, I don't want to say a bait and switch, but the way it doesn't play out that way in the film, and then the way it was used was beautiful, in my opinion. It's a tragedy, but it was beautifully done. The only thing that I have an issue with is that it's not that scene, it's actually at the end when you realize who did it. It doesn't make too much sense to me. It is actually one of my things that I'm a little bothered by with the film, because it had been, we're gonna get there. I'm sure we're gonna get there. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but overall, his last stand for me was so badass. The way they were wrestling over and fighting, and he says the "not today," and he does what he does, but then Ghostface kind of comes back and
he says,
gives
yes,
him that yes, today. I'm like, what the hell? But I thought it was just so beautifully done. It's one of, again, just that hospital scene altogether was just, it was great. Ghostface was menacing. The calls in this movie, that's another thing we haven't really touched base on. I love the calls in this film. They all worked so well. Even when he mentions Psycho, have you ever seen the movie Psycho? That line right there, I was like, oh my god, like this is amazing. But that Dewey scene for me was great. I felt like one of them had to go. To be completely honest with you.
And if any of them had to go, I said this like from the beginning. I said if I had to choose one of the three to shuffle off this mortal coil, I'm probably gonna have to say I'm most okay with Dewey, and that's not me trying to be mean or snarky against Dewey, but I'm sorry, but Sydney and Gale to me are like legends.
See, and everybody's different so for me, I felt to get that emotional impact that everybody had to be Dewey. I felt for me, because I'm like, oh, they killed Courtney Cox's character, Gale. I'm like, I'd be sad, but I'm like, I'd be happy that it wasn't Dewey. So they hit me in the heart completely. I saw that movie and I was like, this. I was again, it was only like maybe 8 of us when we got in that got invited to go see it. So we were all scattered out. I had no one near me, and I was just like depressed. I was depressed watching that scene because I'm like, and I knew it had to happen. I knew if it was gonna be anybody, it was gonna be him. That man's escaped death too many times in this franchise. So, but I felt like it was beautiful. It was beautifully done.
The first,
yeah.
They changed that.
They changed that exactly. He was supposed to die in the first.
So he basically was like, how Han Solo was supposed to be.
I was about to bring that
exactly
up.
It.
That
and so they end up killing him off in the Force Awakens, and so it's kind of that parallel.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail. Like you hit the nail on the head. Dewey in Scream 5 is the Han Solo of the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they both come off extremely tired of this shit. Like even in the trailer, his phone call to Sydney, like, yeah, again.
I don't want to say that, to be honest with you. I don't want to. I feel like it was more of a this is happening. It wasn't more of a. Are you saying like he phoned it in or not?
No, I think he's like
it in.
Okay.
As in the character, I think is so exhausted by all the killings that have happened in his past.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're right. You're 1,000% right. Yeah. No, because I'm like, Dewey, he destroys his role. He did so great.
Mm-hmm.
He did so great.
Oh, I believe it, especially because in the last 10 years, I could probably count the major roles in David Arquette's filmography on one hand. So he gets to be this big hero and go out in a blaze of glory and get that moment, especially being 25 years on. He wanted that kind of experience and he got it.
Oh yeah, and he crushed it. Someone else who I thought was excellent was the voice of Ghostface himself, Roger L. Jackson. And if I'm being honest, I think the older he gets, the more intimidating his voice becomes.
The switch in the beginning for me was great. How he has that normal, and then slowly he's like turning it on and turning it on and turning it on until you get Ghostface, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? He was fantastic in this too, man. And I love that they finally gave him the credit, like in the. I don't think I've ever seen him not in the actual credits as they rolling. You know how they show you the like a clip from the film with left camera or whatever at the end. I don't know if I can't remember if 4 had it for him, but I'm glad that they had Ghostface and it says Roger L. Jackson on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I noticed
thank
that
you.
too.
Yeah,
so
it was great.
Kind of Space Jam: A New Legacy in that way. At least Bowser got as himself and not his character.
Yeah,
they were actually crediting the voice actors instead of just the characters.
And I think it's really awesome that we're starting to be a little better at giving credit where credit is due, whether it's voice actors or just like people behind the scenes, like people who like created the characters, like it's only been like 5 to 10 years since Bill Finger started being credited as the creator of Batman.
Yep.
So I hope this trend continues. Now I think we're approaching the moment of truth. We have to get to the reveal of the killer, but before we do that, I think one of the best the best ways to get to that point is to establish a reason to go to the party scene, which is at Amber's house, which just happens to be the home of Stu Macher.
Dun dun dun.
Which Hayden has visited recently.
Yeah, man. I saw again, there's a Facebook page that I follow, and somebody actually stayed there opening weekend. They posted the pictures of the inside the house, which I thought was badass.
That's awesome.
Super badass. But apparently that, because I saw it was an Airbnb, and I'm like, next time I go to LA, I was supposed to be in LA this month, but I think I'm gonna have to push my trip now to March, and I wanted to stay, but apparently they're not gonna do that anymore.
Yeah, there were people who were there, so he admittedly kind of just drove up and quickly dodged before we could get in like any trouble.
Yeah. So those guys, whoever was there, is part of this page on Facebook, and he was posting pictures or whatever. And it's funny because I saw you post the picture on the group chat. I'm like, I wonder, and I looked at the picture to see, and I'm like, no, it's not the same person. I'm like, are you there? But yeah, I only saw the first trailer. I dodged that last trailer as well.
Same.
I didn't want to see anything. So Stu's house to me was a big surprise. And even before they mentioned it, when you first see the party, I'm like, man, that looks like they replicated it, kind of replicating the house. That's pretty cool. Yeah. No idea it was the actual location of Stu's house. So when they finally give the address,
they did recreate it in where they filmed in North Carolina. They just recreated it for 5, but
so it's not actually a house in the film.
Not shot in the actual house.
The 1 in 5 is not the actual house.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The 1 in 5 is a recreation because it was in a different state.
Right, but the fact that in universe it's the same house is awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah. No, and the whole the third act for me was so good. But when they revealed that it was Stu's house, and my jaw was on the floor, dude. I was like, holy shit, they're doing it. This is insane. And for me, it was like, I'm like, it has to be someone related to the past again. So go ahead before I keep talking.
I'm not even sure where to go, because there are so many great moments in the third act. Particularly the scene where I think it's Amber and Mindy who go downstairs to grab the beer. That might be one of the greatest red herrings I think I've ever seen, because they make you think that Mindy's the killer. Only if you've seen the film more than once, you kind of know what's going on here.
Yeah.
But just the back and forth between these two, I thought was just incredible.
And so true to the character, because again, she's the movie expert, and she's the one who was like, obviously looking out. I felt like she did that more looking out for her friend, as well as being suspicious. It was kind of playing off both cards, you get me? But she went downstairs and she was like, hey, there's a killer on the loose. You don't want to be by yourself, but also like, I felt like it was just played very, very well by both characters and true to the character. It's something that a Randy or a Mindy would do. Like, hey, you know better than this. Why are you doing this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
you could also interpret it a little bit of flirting.
Yeah, that works too.
I thought about it. Another one of the scenes that I liked was it was like this almost like kind of this triple meta thing of Mindy watching the scene and stab of Randy being approached by Ghostface and saying, look behind you, and it I thought that was a really fun way of doing it. And in the original movie, it's its own Easter egg because it's Jamie Kennedy saying, Jamie, look behind you. So, and I thought that was a really fun way of doing it in a new way. It felt very true to Scream's essence, and I really dug that.
Yeah, it in the words of Deadpool, that was like a 16th wall break.
Yeah,
a fourth wall break on top of a fourth wall break.
Yeah.
There's something else I want to bring up. How about just like everything involving Richie in the house? Because we haven't revealed yet. We haven't revealed yet who the killer is, but just Richie's approach to the situation where he's in. Everything about Jack Quaid's performance was just off the charts here.
Agreed. From the moment you get introduced with the corny joke about her being his penis pills or what have you, very corny joke where she looks at him and she's like, no, he's like, you're right, and then him not knowing anything about Woodsboro or the killings, and him finding out everything that's going on, and then scene cuts or whatever, and then she looks at Richie, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm watching stat films on Netflix. It's just very like I felt like he had great comedic timing in this film. Like, I thought he was so funny. The character legit telling you, like, he's the character that is thinking what we would be thinking in a situation like that, which again, it's a lot of the characters do the same. But when he's talking about, again, going to the party, and he goes, can we just get the hell out of here? Why are we going to the party when there's a massacre going around? And like, we can get your inhaler later, and what have you. Just little things about it. Where he was watching Netflix when Sam got attacked in the hospital, and him and Amber have that back and forth where the she's like, well, maybe you're the killer, and then she's like, the sheriff was actually interrogating me, but yeah, Netflix, yours is a good alibi too. That little back and forth with them was so great as well. But the whole time on repeat viewings, again, the first time you're obviously focusing, you're pointing fingers at everybody, but once you know what's going on and you start seeing it, he played that character really well. Like,
I think we should rip off the Band-Aid now and reveal who the killers are, just so I can continue to praise Jack Quaid for all of the subtle foreshadowing of who his character is ultimately revealed to be.
Yeah.
So,
quick question right before we do.
Okay.
Did any of you guess the killers?
Yes. I guessed one of them, and the other was one that I probably in hindsight should have gotten, but wasn't.
Right, good. So for me, the whole film, I guessed them both. There was one scene where I second guessed myself, and it was the inhaler scene. The inhaler scene in the car, I was like, she's luring them to this place. Oh my God, what a twist, right? And the whole time let's rip the Band-Aid off, right? All right. So Amber is one of the killers, right? And the whole time, I don't know if it was me and I felt terrible for typecasting Mickey Madison, but since I saw her role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I saw that she was in this film and how
so you
well
kind of
she
put
played
two and
that,
two together.
I was like, there's no way that, again, they cast this person, this girl, and she doesn't do the exact same thing, because she did that job so well. and she pulls it off, in my opinion. She
And
was
real
so
quick,
great in this.
Can we talk about how funny it is that
The Tarantino
same
knife?
exact fate
The
happens to
Tarantino
her
knife.
in this?
I lost my shit.
I
laughing.
was like, the second she gets, I guess we can say Mikey Madison is getting typecast as
a psychopath.
as serial killers who get burned alive.
And I love and when they like hit her over the head, right? And she, what was it, hand sanitizer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was hand sanitizer, which again, everything with COVID going around, I thought that was a nice touch as well. But when she says it's time to pass the torch, I was like, please tell me they're gonna do this right now. Please tell me they're gonna do this, and they do, and it was fantastic, as predictable as it was coming, as predictable as she was being the killer. I thought they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was great. And her reveal, believe it or not, even though I knew, I loved how she did it, how it went down. Because there's a scene right before that with Liv, with Sonia and Mar's character, where she's coming off a little nuts towards Mindy, and Mindy's like kind of like, yeah, you're acting a little crazy, and then she comes in I love that. It kind of felt like the original Scream film when Randy and Stu are going and Sydney's there, because Mindy stabbed. Amber shows up screaming with Tara. Richie shows up, beers drop. He's like, what the hell's going on? Sam's in the room, and then all of a sudden you see Liv come in and there's blood. It's all these characters in one room, and they're all pointing the finger at each other, not knowing. And then Liv getting so frustrated, right? Being accused of being the killer throughout. And she goes, I'm not the fucking killer. Amber's like, you're right. You're not. Blows her head off and then says, welcome to Act 3. Beautiful. Beautiful. As predictable as it was just so well written. And I had so much fun with that scene.
Yeah.
But,
so what about Richie?
So again, Richie, I don't know why. I don't know. And he was the opposite. Like, so for her, I typecasted Mickey Madison. With him, I'm like, why? He doesn't fit the age demographic. Why put him in a film if he's not gonna lose? He's gonna be the complete opposite of what he was in The Boys, or what he is in The Boys. Where I'm like, he can play that geeky guy, and then I'm like, and probably just have that on switch, right? Where he just, or off switch, what have you. So he was always, I not once didn't suspect him except for that car scene. But when the reveal happens and he grabs Sam and when they go to the basement, he goes, there's always two killers. And he says it's Tara. I'm like, it's not Tara, it's him. It was immediate. That was immediately for me. So it was, again, they had me second guessing maybe for like 15 minutes of the movie, where I'm like, I'm like, what a twist that would be if it's actually the sister, right?
And also referring to past roles, I was thinking of his smaller role in the first Hunger Games movie.
Yeah.
I barely remember that.
He was
his name was Marvel.
He was Marvel in the Hunger Games movie, and
yeah.
I remember the scene where he's holding PETA via knife, and I just and that was what first came to mind.
That was kind of where you're like, hey, that can work as well. Yeah, that, holy shit, I completely forgot that he was in the Hunger Games, but now I remembered. Yeah, I try to erase those movies, man. So.
And speaking of past roles again, Jenna Ortega was played one of the daughters of Serena Vincent's character on the Disney Channel sitcom Stuck in the Middle.
Oh yeah.
And so while Stuck in the Middle isn't quite the role for it, it's that she's playing the daughter of a character played by an actual scream queen.
Yeah, so I guess you could also
like
say
6 degrees is Kevin Bacon. Kevin
Bacon,
listen to me. Can't even speak right now.
Or Kevin Bacon horror character, whatever.
You could also say she was stuck in the middle of all of this conflict.
I like that.
Wasn't going for puns, but okay.
But yeah, so then when you get that reveal and you see and Richie, points the finger at Tara, I'm like, there's no way that the movies. I mean, again, they've been giving us who the killers were the whole time, or at least for him. But I'm like, once it was verbally said right before reveal, I'm like, no, okay, it's 100% Richie. And then once he's struggling going downstairs, and I see that he's walking towards Sam, I'm like, here it is, and boom, he just stabs her. And
Regarding Amber, something I kind of picked up on the second time that I watched the film is why Ghostface is using Amber's number to get a hold of Tara. And I thought by telegraphing who the killer is in the opening sequence is kind of perfect, because it's just far enough away that you kind of forget about it until the reveal happens.
And every time Ghostface calls, it still says maybe Amber Freeman, and it's probably the same phone that they're using, Amber's phone, which is pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
But damn, you mentioned something that I was gonna jump on, but if you guys have anything, go ahead. But
about Richie, something I noticed, and this is also kind of a reference to the original film. Dewey makes the assumption that, oh, you can't trust the love interest because that turns out to have always been the killer. And I think like the reason he's in that role is specifically to pay homage to Billy Loomis,
right?
Who you kind of think the whole time he might be the killer. At least personally, I did. I thought like there was like a slim chance he could have been the killer until it was revealed, oh, by the way, he's the killer.
Yeah.
And I felt it more the second time that like the second time that you really start to pick up on subtle foreshadowing that Richie is a killer. First of all, they make it obvious by the fact that he's never seen the stab movies.
And he just brings it up out of nowhere in the car, which in hindsight, you're like, that's a really random time to just bring up that you've never seen any of them, dude.
Yeah.
So
nice.
So first of all, he brings up he's never seen the stab movies. And then like I'm going to assume that the film like takes place within at most like 2 to 3 days. And like in the middle of the movie, he's already up to like Scream 8, or at least he's like watching YouTube videos about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that kind of it kind of tips you off that like, maybe he knows more about this franchise than he's let on. And also he's off screen a lot more. He's off screen more like more than he is like on screen. So you're already kind of suspicious, like, wait, where was he when Ghostface attacked? Or why is he at the hospital like 3 hours before Sam and Dewey get there? It's little touches like that kind of enhance the experience and the eventual reveal. But Jayder, you mentioned something earlier that the line that he says to Dewey, like it's an honor.
What takes away from that scene for me is, again, the reveal that obviously it wasn't Richie that kills Dewey, it's Amber. And Ghostface, Amber, if you see her throughout throughout the other characters, she's very short.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that was my main thing. And again, it's not that it bothered me again that I did that I hate. Obviously love this film. But it bothered me because again seen it 3 times where I'm like, maybe I'm not seeing it, and it is shorter than but it's not. They're like height to height, the strength, all that stuff. And even you hear, the voice changer can be the grunt, so that doesn't matter, because I'm like, you hear a grunt and it's a male grunt when they flip with each other, but that can be easily written as it was a voice change, the voice box in there. So we're not going to talk about that. But for me, it just took away from the death of Dewey, because I felt that, like, I'm like, there's not that I'm saying there's no way that Amber could have killed this person, but the way it went down, the way, Dewey is not, not as fit as he used to be, man. He got a couple pounds on him, and then to do that and then just slice up like that, I just felt like it just took away slightly for that scene, at least personally. Like I said, Dewey was one of my favorite characters of the franchise. Seeing him go sucked. But just seeing it, the reveal at the end, where I'm like, all right, I'm cool with her being the killer, because I think she was, even the part where she gets the knife and she imitates the psycho sound, like, she did so great. And there was little flashes of Stu in her when she's choking Gail and a little spit comes out, right? Like, she nails it. But it was just the way that scene played out in retrospect. Like, once the movie ends and you're like, huh, I'm like, that kind of doesn't make sense to me. Like, to do that. It was just too much. And then I saw it again. I'm like, maybe I can see now, since I know who the killer is, the height difference. And it's not. It would have been way more believable had it been Richie doing that.
Yeah,
right?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will say this, because I remember this article, not this article. I remember this coming up when Scream 4 came out regarding Jill. And there was a lot of people saying, well, she's very short, and the ghost face that pops up here and here and here is very tall. And for me, what it comes down to is, I guess, it's just that I feel like it's kind of something where, for me, my suspension of disbelief is just enough that I'm just like, okay, I'll let it pass. Ghostface is technically them, but I will just let it slide for the sake of emotionality.
Of course, and again, it didn't ruin my experiences the second and third time. I was just more trying to see, and I guess it's a gripe of mine, but not a gripe that I'm like, oh, fuck this. I'm not like that at all. In fact, the scene gets to me every single time. Like, the 3 times that I've seen it, and again, I might be seeing it again tomorrow. It still gets to me, and again, the whole. I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot, and Sacrifice is hands down one of my favorites of the thing. And then I don't know if you guys heard it, that it plays out, and then right at the end they play the boom 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 boom.
I noticed that too. I was gonna bring that up.
That's cool.
So that's really cool, which they don't do in the movie, because I was trying to listen to it in the movie as the reveal. Gail sees the coroners and all that stuff, and she's losing her shit. They don't play it, and it's only on the soundtrack, which I felt, again, the soundtrack came out like a week before, so people were already suspecting this scene. I'm kind of glad that I saw the movie, soundtrack came out, I was able to listen to the soundtrack. I tell everybody, stay away from it, don't listen to it. It does have spoilers, even though you might not think so, but it has spoilers in it. But again, what basically what Hayden was saying, it doesn't take away from me. It's just one of those things that I wish they could have been, I guess, a little bit smarter on. It doesn't take away from the experience. It's one of those, like, man, if we caught that, that's something that maybe you guys should have caught it, written it just a little bit different,
And I will also say that, I guess, in the hospital, with the hospital scene, it kind of does need to, it is also that it is to throw it off of the suspicion off of Richie, as well.
Yeah,
that's right there.
That makes sense.
So, because it's kind of trying to make him look like he's being, attacked by Ghostface, which obviously happens in the franchise a lot. The killer gets cut, and it's
always, there's always some sort of.
And this is why I personally feel it's important to have 2 killers for this exact reason. And part of the reason why I think 3 is the weakest is because they deviate from that that specific formula of having two killers, because for the sake of like the mystery aspect, you need to have two, so that it's not as easy to like figure out the killer too early in advance, and also so each one can kind of like throw the audience off their track.
Yeah, well,
And then it's always fun coming back and seeing who actually did which ones.
Oh,
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm trying to see with this film. Who did what?
That's
Like
what my entire
with
second-
Randy, I'm just realizing that it was probably Billy's mom who killed Randy.
Well, yeah,
Right.
she says it in the film. Yeah,
I
she
got a
says
little
that.
knife happy.
Yeah, I got a little knife happy, exactly.
I will say
so
with
great.
Scream 3 is there in the original script there were two killers. The other one was going to be Angelina. Emily
Angelina
Mortimer's
was supposed to
character.
be the killer, and then the screenplay leaked, and Kevin Williamson wrote it off. But
Well,
she
that was
supposed to
well.
be
He
killed.
didn't write Scream.
Oh
3.
no, that's right. He didn't write Scream 3. You're
And
absolutely right.
recently in a podcast, Kevin Williamson said that for Scream 2, that the leaks on the internet for Scream 2, those were actually all diversions that they deliberately set up, which I thought was really interesting to
Very
Oh,
genius.
nice.
right from his
Very
lips.
genius. Yeah, I read that actually recently too. I read that I think about like 2 weeks ago. I read that Kevin Williamson had done that for Scream 2.
So was the boyfriend rerun line kind of the equivalent to when in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014 they had the line about the turtles being aliens, and then April rebuffs it as stupid?
I guess.
Hmm.
Um,
I know it's kind of a weird connection to make, but
I'm trying to figure out what you're referring to.
Yeah.
when
I
the
understood the line. I understand the line that they're saying that they were aliens, and then April O'Neil or Megan Fox's character says they're not. That's just stupid. They're just turtles,
Oh.
right? Like mutated turtles. Or
Wait,
whatever.
no, I know what he's referring to. He's talking about like a line in the movie that kind of like is a response to early reactions to
plot developments or whatever gets
Yeah.
revealed. And
I don't think so.
hmm.
Not that I can recall, at least.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
personally think so.
all right, so we know who the killers were. Let's bounce to the motive. What did you guys feel? Because that's what I feel is literally dividing the fans to this movie. What the motive was.
The motive kind of feels like it feels like the overall thesis of what Matt and Tyler were trying to accomplish. Like, not necessarily that they were villainizing. See, here's the problem with like bad faith arguments about fandom culture is the people who dislike this movie are trying to frame it as like this movie is anti-fandom, when that's not really the case.
That's not the case, yeah.
This is specifically calling out this movie is like specifically calling out the toxic fans who like who feel a certain
Nothing is ever going to be as good as the original. Why are you making these new Star Wars films? Why are you making this shit?
You're gonna have
Exactly.
to make your own new one that shows
Exactly.
that it's better, that we
And
know
that's-
what's best.
That's exactly
and the
it.
thing
And
is,
that's what I
like,
loved about
why
it.
don't you make your own?
Well, that's the point of this film. That's
No, but
actually
like
what
the thing with that argument is once that thing of their own is made, it's going to draw the comparisons immediately. Like it's basically the big franchise with some serial numbers filed off.
Yeah, no.
Right.
So as we're watching the movie yesterday, right? My girlfriend leans into me. The motive is happening. She goes, "Is that the motive?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I feel like it's kind of stupid." I'm like, "Hold that thought." Right? And movie finishes and we get in the car, and usually, the movie ends and and I tell her, hold that thought. We're going to dinner right now. I'm gonna explode on you. I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you. And then when we finally got to sit down and have dinner, I'm like, all right, now we can go. And she goes, I thought it was really stupid. I'm like, but why? And then she goes, a fan, because he's a hardcore fan. And then I start mentioning, because she loves, so she's probably gonna get shit for this, but she loves the 2016 Ghostbusters, loves it, right?
I do too.
Same.
So she, we went to go see that, and I was one that didn't understand the hate for the film. It's not my favorite, and I actually think, but I didn't think it was as bad as everybody was saying it was. And then obviously for her, it was a female Ghostbuster. She's really, 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 really funny. Like, I don't know I know you watch Schmodown, but when we hang out with Ellis and with Kate, like she has them rolling on the floor. And Ellis is like, dude, you got to get this girl a microphone, man. Like, you got to get her a microphone. I got to get her on stage. She's really, really funny. So she liked the fact that, just like in the original, the comedians and all that. And I don't want to veer too off, but I started telling her, I'm like, remember 2016 Ghostbusters, how that movie was getting so bashed. And she goes, yeah, they're idiots. And I'm like, this is them mocking that. And then I'm like, so basically the killers, what they wanted to do is make their own movie, like their own original film, just to show that they still have the chops to, and then she was like, oh, and I was like, yes. And she goes, that's genius. And I'm like, exactly. And then
the killers are all Neo if their anger and resentment was at a film. Neo was I think his name was Neo, the villain of Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Neo automatically transforms to the Matrix to me, dude. So that's where I went. And I was like, what are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the villain from Answer the Call at all. But a comparison that I made to the killers in Scream are, well, the low-hanging fruit is they're Star Wars fans, because Rian Johnson directed Stab 8,
and a little bit Snyder stands.
To a lesser degree.
With the remake,
not so much mention on that. It was more mention of Star Wars Ghostbusters. They mentioned a couple other films, but
But what I was gonna say is, in a way, Scream is kind of like, you know how in Watchmen, like the whole point of that story is like comic books became so big that it influenced people in the real life to become superheroes. Well, in Scream, like these fans have become so radicalized that they want to create their own remake of a sequel they didn't like.
No, and he says one of the lines that I loved was like, we all know that the better sequels are the ones that are based on true events, which is the original Stab, and that's why they actually killed people. It's very radical, man. But I thought it was again, they just understood the assignment with this film, man. And the reveal for me was the motive for me was better than the actual. Obviously, this was, I want to say, the first Scream movie again where I knew who the killers were from the jump. Part one had you guessing. Part two, I was expecting Mickey, but I didn't see Debbie Salt being, obviously no one did. Debbie Salt
did. I did as a joke, because I literally was watching Scream 2 the first time and I'm like, LOL, what if it's that random newscaster lady? That would be so funny. And then it turned out, and I was right, and I'm like,
holy shit,
what just happened?
No, but you could really see it in her eyes. She has this.
She has the crazy eyes, man, and Billy. I mean, Ulrich has the same eyes, man. It's crazy how they got her. They had to go to the auditions and like, hey, like Tony Montana says, the eyes, Chico, they never lie, man.
Yeah,
it had to be.
Both
I
had the
felt
crazy
like that was
eyes, and I think that was their version of Billy's musical sting. Every time he showed up, he had that dramatic sting, where it's supposed to be No, they can't be that upfront that he's the killer. But
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
actually,
ended up
of
being
course,
him.
actually
But yeah,
was.
so then 3, obviously with the Roman reveal we said earlier, I had, I was like, who the hell is that? Until I was like, oh, it's that guy. And then 4, called Charlie, did not see Jill coming. And 5, I did both of them, like I said. But once the motive came out, I was like, holy shit, that is genius. Because I'm one that, man, if I like it, I like it. I'm sorry. I get shit for liking. I have a friend that tells me, you literally like everything. I'm like, no, I don't. There are films
Dude,
that I can specifically tell you that I
I'm the
don't
exact
like.
same way.
But I do try to find the good in film. It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy to make film. It's not, and it is hard work. So I always try to find the good in a film. But there's some like, look, I'll tell you right now. We were just mentioning Neo. I really didn't like Matrix Resurrections. I didn't hate it, but I was just so disappointed by it because I had it. I was anticipating it, and then it was very unnecessary for me. I feel I have some friends that are trying to like change my mind on it, but it's just one of those that for me, it just didn't work for me. I didn't think it was a terrible film. I just felt like it was unnecessary. I think you have a different opinion on it. I think you liked it, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I loved it.
Yeah. So I read your thing, but again, guess what? Guess what I didn't do? Tell you how wrong you were, right? No, I'm not like that. So if you like something, I'm the one that's like, man, that's awesome. It wasn't for me, you know. I have friends that are like, oh, you just like everything. You don't find wrong in anything, and there's some things that just don't make sense. I'm like, dude, I'm a movie fan, man. I just love, it
Yeah,
is what
I'm
it
the
is.
same.
So I felt like this, and everywhere you go, I don't know if you guys have like movie sites, if you're part of like the Collider Movie Talk or Screen. Ever since I started following all these pages, everywhere it's always somebody with a pompous opinion and why you're wrong and why your opinion is shit and why Marvel movies are again the death of cinema. And I'm like, dude, let people have fun. Let people have fun.
I have seen all of these takes.
Yeah.
I've seen every single variation of those sort of opinions. So I'm kind of used to it all by now.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And you notice I just don't post anymore when I see a movie. I know for me that I liked it or whatever, unless I really, really, really like, or it's a big movie, or I'm like, hey, I'll write something on it. But I don't even post my reviews up or anything. I just do it. I get my money, my check, and that's that. Just because I just don't have that energy to literally argue with you on why I have to explain why I like this movie. I just do, and it is what it is. So I felt like, again, this movie spoke to me in so many ways, even thinking little things like we really didn't dig into a lot of the characters or a lot of the not the deaths, but the attacks or deaths or what have you. But when Chad gets stabbed, right, and he's hiding behind the shed, and he's grabbing his phone and the blood doesn't let him type. I don't know if you guys have ever used, if you have any smartphones or anything, but you've gotten in the shower and you're trying to text and it doesn't let you because your fingers are wet. I thought that was genius. And then right after that, my girlfriend's like, throw your phone away. And he grabs the phone and he literally throws it away. And then she's like, why don't they call 911 in this film? In this movie, Jenna Ortega tries to call 911. So every little trope that, hasn't been done in other horror movies, it's like they're like, hey, we're thinking ahead of you this time. Right.
Yep.
One of the things that she was telling me about, she's like, I didn't like the fact that Deputy Judy didn't have her gun on her. And she goes, I felt like she's a police officer. Why wouldn't she have a gun on her? And I'm like, well, she went to go get sushi. She wasn't on duty. She didn't have her uniform. That's one of the things. And not only that, I'm like, have you ever been in a situation where you have a killer on the phone or something that I don't want to say a killer on the phone, obviously, but like something that you're just so scared of? Sometimes you don't think clearly. Her motherly instinct was, let me go inside and run. And maybe she had her gun in the house where she was going to grab that gun. But, we see what happens right before that. So I told her, she's like, oh, like, she was like, I didn't see, she goes, I don't understand if she's a police officer, why she wouldn't. And I gave her those two scenarios. She goes, okay, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, it's just, I felt like, not saying that the movie was perfect, because it wasn't, and we haven't touched on obviously some of the cons. The Billy thing for me.
What was the gun usage neutered in any way, or was it a basically on par with films?
I honestly thought that that everything that we were going again. So when the motive happens, I apologize. I'm like everywhere right now. When the motive happens, I'm like, this is just more reason to love this film because this is exactly how I feel. I'm not saying a fan would go on a killing spree or anything like that, but it's gotten to that point where like I could have made the better film. And don't get me wrong, I've said things like that too. Like when I watched the ending of Dexter that I hated so much, and I'm like, I could have written a better ending. So I'm not taking myself out. I just realized after being disappointed by certain films where I'm like, you know what, man, enjoy that you get a movie. You don't have to see it again. It's not like a movie like that, like Clockwork Orange. You're gonna hold your eyes open to watch these movies all over again. If you didn't like it, it's a one and done, and you just don't talk about it again. And I've come to learn to live like that now. So when the reveal happened, I'm like, genius.
I want to jump back to what you said about the Loomis Force Ghost. None of the previous Scream movies, except a little bit of 3.
Yep.
And we mentioned earlier that 5 does kind of borrow a few elements from 3. One of them is flashbacks of a dead relative.
Visions, really.
Yeah, visions. And Scream is like a relatively grounded franchise, so it does feel a bit alien to have like an old Billy Loomis coming back in the way that he did. But what
Like even the supernatural elevation of the killer that Randy described in his video wasn't really quite so supernaturally elevated. It looked it.
Well, again, it wasn't supernatural in this film. It was hallucinations, which makes sense with the medicines that she's taking. So,
okay, that makes sense.
I was talking more of like what might take away from the grounding of the franchise, like when Randy mentioned the supernatural elevation.
Yeah, basically you gotta blow this motherfucker up, basically, right?
Yeah.
but yeah, so the scene at first didn't bother me, and I thought it was actually like the first time, right? I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, that's pretty cool that she's seeing her. Well, yeah, we're talking spoilers. I'm like, she's seeing her dead father, and the whole back and forth or whatever. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then he appears in the car. I'm like, all right. And then at the end, he kind of gives her that again. It was like a Force Ghost nod, like do it, kind of like a la Emperor instead of like do it. But again, I didn't. It's not something that takes away from my experience. It was just something I could have done without that. It would have been like mentioning it, like, hey, that is the daughter of Billy Loomis, and her saying that she's fighting some sort of psychosis or what have you, better than kind of like feeding it to you. Like, hey, this is what she's seeing. I think it would have been, I feel like less would have been more in this thing. But I think it was also a kind of like a, to the OG fans, hey, look who's back, it was nice.
Sure.
It was nice to see him on screen.
Oh, yeah.
And to that end, I think there is something to be said about them kind of unpacking like their history of having like the killers being like quote unquote like mentally ill, and kind of using that to an opposite effect to not and to not stigmatize people who do have mental illness. And I think there is something kind of powerful about that in its own right. But I do agree that it did look a little
wonky
off at times, and I will say it did make me. It was maybe a little more comedic than I think they maybe intended. I don't know for sure, but
see, for better for worse, like sometimes like it's hard to tell with the Scream franchise what is supposed to be funny and what gets a laugh unintentionally.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I guess it's sometimes a case of something is so friggin' weird in a movie that I kind of have to almost respect it, if that makes sense.
No, I hear you. I ultimately like seeing Skeet Ulrich back. It's just
Yeah.
it's just maybe he overstayed his welcome.
I agree with
That's what I
that.
felt was he over
Well,
again.
although I do have to
beginning-
ask, was it using his 1996 self or
They-
his 20?
They did some
Okay.
de-aging.
Yeah, they did some de-aging. He's wearing the exact same thing you last saw him in, except he has no bullet in his head. Pretty much. White shirt, blood on the shirt, the whole nine.
Because modern Skeet Ulrich just, yeah.
Yeah.
His
I felt
facial hair is nice.
I felt like he hasn't aged that bad, to be completely honest with you, because I hadn't seen him in anything, and then I saw him doing some recent interviews.
Well, he's been in Riverdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
mean-
a Riverdale fan, then he's
If
showed
you're-
up.
If you're 51, like for a 51-year-old, he looks perfectly fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I mean, he definitely doesn't look like a teenager anymore, but
Yeah. That-
for what it's worth, he looks fine for his.
Yeah,
perfectly
I
fine,
agree.
Attractive for his age.
I gotta say though, out of all the original cast, the one who's aged probably the best is Nev Campbell.
Campbell. She looks better in every film. I feel like from one to now, she looks best now. She's
Yeah.
like,
Oh hell yeah.
But
yeah.
I think with our main trio, with all the shit they've been through, it's very understandable whatever they ended up looking like.
That you're not wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel again, I mean, I think we're gonna go ahead and talk about the actual the motive at the end. We already talked about, we discussed that. And I felt that Richie, when Richie turned it on, when the Psycho Richie came out, at first I don't know if it was because I was not, even though expecting him, I didn't know how he was gonna go about it. The first time I saw it, it's not that it didn't work for me, but I'm like, I don't know why I was expecting something a little bit different. It totally worked for me the second time though. Once I knew, and once he I'm like, man, no, he really did so well. Once he turns crazy. Well, he's always been crazy, but once he shows his true colors, I think they both did so good. Now, one of the things that my girlfriend did mention is like, how old is Richie in the film? Let's say that I think Sam left Woodsboro for 5 years when she was 18, right?
Yeah, so in
23.
universe you'd be like 23.
Yeah, 23. Let's say Richie's the same age or maybe a year older, maybe a year younger. How old is Amber? So she's like, she's a high school kid. She's like, it's a little pedo of him, huh? And then I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, I think they're of age. I think they're 18. That I would assume.
Yeah, I think they're all 18.
They were seniors and shit. But she's like, I don't know. He was like, I felt like he was a lot older than she was, and they were calling each other baby and all that shit, like, dating or whatever. But my girlfriend also thought it was a nice touch that she's like, oh, I like that they gave Chad, even though we see that he's a football player, but still wearing the Woodsboro jacket, just like Steve is wearing in the first movie.
Yep.
Little nods again that she was like, oh, and then obviously Mindy wearing the green with the brown. And I know I stepped away, but I was hearing when you were talking about the wall break, because it was like us watching Randy watching Jamie Lee Curtis. It's fantastic. But yeah, man, I absolutely love this film. I know we already talked rankings, but after obviously
since we're kind of wrapping up anyway, now that you've seen the film, where does Scream end up on the list?
It ended up being my number 2, man. I shot all the way up, and I felt that way walking out the first time, but I didn't let myself get too, I want to say trigger happy, right? Where I was like, oh, just wait a little bit, see it again. You're seeing it in 10 days. And then I got out of watching it that Thursday, and I saw it. So we were supposed to watch it it was like 8 of us that we were supposed to go watch it together. And out of the 8, 6 got COVID.
Ooh,
So yeah, so everybody had to stay home, and then it was just me and my buddy that went by ourselves, and he wasn't even supposed to be there. He's not a massive fan, but he's like, dude, the word of mouth from this movie is so good that I have to go see it. I'm like, yes, give it your money, let's go. I'm like, I was gonna sit in the theater by myself. I'm like, buy any random ticket and just sit next to me. It doesn't matter because I have an empty seat. I have two empty seats next to me. And then he's like, all right. So we ended up watching it, and he like the movie again. He's not gonna pay into the like. He's not gonna know who Mark Kincaid is or anything like that. He remembers the original, and the movie ended, and he kind of like turned to me and he went, and I'm like, yeah, and he goes, dude, that was great. He goes, it was great, and I was like, good. Tell your friends, please let this movie make money because I don't need this to bomb because I need another one. So
nice.
that was the second time I saw it. And then he goes, dude, where do you rank it? And I'm like, it's really sitting like up there for me, but I don't know yet. I think I'm just being tricked. And he goes, dude, I personally think it's the best one after the original. He goes, so it's okay to feel that way. And then it solidified for me yesterday getting out. I even told him, like, we saw it at 5:30, and I even told my girlfriend, I'm completely down to watch this movie right now again. I'll buy the tickets for Dolby and rewatch it. That's how much I liked it. I was telling Michael right before the show started that I feel like this might break my record for most movies seen in the theater, because I have so many friends that specifically want to watch it with me, where they're like, hey, I know I'm watching it again tomorrow. And I think on Wednesday, another friend of mine's like, hey, not Wednesday, I'm sorry, I have my kids. On Friday, he's like, clear your date on Friday. I want to go see the movie with you. So that's already going to be 5 this week, you know? But yeah, I have it up there, and again, 2 and 4 are just teeter-tottering. So I'm liking where this franchise is heading. You know, I feel like it's still running. You know, if Fast and Furious can get 10 films, I'm not saying I need 10 Scream films, but just make some good ones, right? Because I feel like Fast and Furious kind of picked up momentum with 5 as well when The Rock joined the crew, and I felt like 5, 6, and 7 were actually really solid films, and then they started falling down again with 8 and 9.
I could totally see Scream like taking that Fast and Furious approach.
Yeah, no, but as long as
So
it has a good story, and we're not getting again the Stab 8 films like they're saying in the in the Scream universe, I welcome it. And this fresh cast, the survivors, again, they minority survived, guys. The minority survived, which is another flip on the genre, which is usually who gets killed off, known to be killed off in these movies, and it's legit the minorities that survive. And I
yeah,
felt
the
like
best the best you got previously was probably Gail's second cameraman, or
yeah, he's the only brother to survive, man. Joel's the only, not is it Joel? Yeah, Joel. Joel's the only one to everybody else gets killed off. So I thought that was great. I thought that the characters that they did keep in this film who survived this film are characters that I do want to see in the next movies.
Same.
I feel like they're gonna be strong characters, and they're just gonna carry this legacy. And I, again, at the end, if they bring Sydney, if they and Gail, if they don't bring them back, I feel like this was a good goodbye for them. I feel like I will see them in a cameo, but they don't need to be the center, right?
Right.
And I'm okay with that. I feel like they closed the
single video call would do.
Yeah, no,
But
exactly. So that's just me, man. I again love this movie. Um, I told Mike as well. I already, as soon as I got a Best Buy notification saying that I can pre-order the Steelbook, I already did it. Just a mega fan of it. I'm very, very happy that this film exists. And it's not taken as a joke, which I feel like the other sequels have been. I feel like these movies are actually like and some friends that, again, that it's not. I have an obsession with this franchise. I always would say that The Exorcist is my favorite horror movie of all time. Rewatching the Scream movies in the last, couple weeks, my girlfriend turned to me and she goes, you always say The Exorcist, but I really think Scream is your favorite movie. I'm like, I think you're absolutely right. And that's okay. I don't have to say, as much as I love The Exorcist, it's okay to say, hey, Scream's my favorite film.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Scream was like we said at the top. Scream is
it's a staple in horror. It changed the game completely, because look how many other slasher films came after that. They didn't even come close to what Scream did, you know, and they're still trying
Exactly.
to, and 25 years later, and it still works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Halloween came back with H20 and Halloween Resurrection, and with Halloween Resurrection not working, that caused the reboots. And then the big three all got their reboots: Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
So then Scream 4 came around, and then honestly, I'm not sure
It got ignored. I felt like Scream 4 got ignored, and I love that Mike earlier said that it became a cult classic. That's exactly what it's become. I feel like more people are more appreciative of Scream 4, and even people that had seen it before, and they I guess they didn't get it during the times, but you know, fast forward to where we are now in society, and people chasing clout for just anything, and it's a film that just works. You get the motive, and you're just like, holy shit, man, what people would do for fame, you know?
And
And you mentioned wanting to Scream possibly getting up there in sequel count. When I mentioned earlier that Stab only got one film out in the last decade, I was certainly expecting what Back to the Future thought Jaws was going to get. Like it was going to get to double digits, like the 15 or
Jaws
it
19.
was going to be that ridiculous. And there's also, with this passing of the torch, well, Bunked on Disney Channel just got renewed for a sixth season, which no other Disney Channel show had gotten. But by this point, there are some of the series regulars who were introduced in the third season after some of the previous regulars had left, which means that for them, season 6 is their season 3 or 4, which is standard for a Disney Channel sitcom. So in a way, it's kind of the norm, but also still breaking those norms.
Real quick, just in regards to how Scream 4 did, just to bring it back to that real quick, is that I feel like a lot of the reason that Scream 4 ultimately underperformed was because it was advertised really poorly. There was like practically nothing back then, like really out there in terms of billboards. I really did not see that much. They did not promote it well because I think the Weinsteins had no real care or faith in the movie.
What was it? Was it because like the Weinstein Company was like that slightly worse clone of Miramax as a distributor?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's also that they really kind of stopped caring about the franchise. And I think it was also another situation of horror was in a very different place in 2011. It was horror was not really the big genre the way it became in recent years. It was kind of just working off of the 2000s, which were pretty slow for horror and had a lot of like kind of pretty not well received remakes. Now with the success of Insidious,
Get Out, Midsommar.
Yeah, like, and all of those movies, now we're in a place where it's just where horror is a little more
Respected.
Compared to when Scream 4 came out. And I think that those two reasons primarily are the reasons that 4 didn't do well and 5 has vastly outperformed it. So
As for a sequel window, we're thinking more Sonic speed than Scream 2 speed, right?
I guess. So Hayden, now that you've seen the film, where does Scream 5 slide into your ranking?
Again, it's really very nebulous, and again, love all of the movies for whatever that's worth, in their own ways, for their own specific reasons. Scream 5, I would say, is up there. It's kind of really a balancing act between 2, 4, and 5 for me. Ultimately, so interpret that however you like. That about covers it. It's very hard for me to rank this franchise conventionally.
Yeah, I understand that. For me, it's Scream is still, the original Scream is still like at the top, but five has now like stepped up just above 2 and 4, but they're all like, the distance between them is like very minor. All 3 of these movies, or actually all 4, 1, 2, 4, and 5, are basically on the letterbox scale. They would all be 5s. 3 is the only one that's like a 3, like 3.5. Like, it's a movie I like, but is definitely it definitely has significant problems. But on the whole, I've just really come to appreciate the franchise in general.
One of the stronger horror franchises, in my opinion.
Oh, it's definitely the most consistent, and it's the franchise that just has the most passion, both like the fans and the creators.
Yeah.
Now, Scott, I know you have not seen the movie yet, but where do you think it would fall on your list?
It definitely, I think it would shoot to the 2.
Nice. So yeah, that brings this episode to an end. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys got to join me on this.
Mhm.
Before we get out of here, Scott, where can everyone find you online?
I'm on Twitter at the Nick Fan Club. My Instagram is ScottSimler94. I've basically been spending a lot of the last year podcasting, basically as a guest, because I didn't think my setup would be host worthy. So, but I'm also before I get to my podcast appearances, I'm a contributor on What's on Paramount Plus,
Nice.
which is on Twitter at P Plus News, and the website is paramountplusnews.blogspot.com. I do have one article up there, and it's a review of A Loud House Christmas, which aired in November on Nick and released same day on Paramount Plus. I'm also kind of on the Cartoon Crave staff, but I haven't written yet. But my podcast appearances include The Emperor's New Podcast, which is devoted entirely to the Emperor's New Groove franchise. And I've been on like at least 15 episodes by now, covering episodes of the Emperor's New School, plus last year's April Fool's episode, which covered the road to El Dorado to celebrate its 21st anniversary.
Awesome.
Because it was released like March 31st, 2000. So and I've also been on Podcast Without a Cool Acronym, which is a podcast devoted to Disney television animation and whatever else Disney, whatever other animated television series Disney airs, like Bluey, What If, The Bad Batch. I've been on the Bluey and What If episodes, as well as others. There's also one in the bag already for Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and tomorrow we'll be recording one for the second quarter of the first season of The Ghost of Molly McKee tomorrow.
Nice. Jayder,
I've also been on 5 episodes of Realm of Immersion, which is on Twitter at Realm Immersion, including a Scream episode we recorded in September intended for an October release, got released last week.
Nice.
And I also plugged there that I have Welshy's Scream retrospective on my channel, except the review of the first Scream is entirely muted. So, and I've got other podcast appearances, but I've been talking about my appearances long enough, so you can go on.
All right. Jayder, where can everyone find you online?
Jayder Paramo, JADER PARAMO on Facebook, Infamous J13 on Instagram and Twitter. You can find my show, The Jayder and Kyle Show, where we review films, old films. Usually we have some Schmodown guests on that channel as well. Just kind of, we pick their favorite movie and they discuss, we just do a deep dive in whatever film they want to talk about. That's part of the Pop Culture Pros, all one word. Yeah, it's pretty much it, man. I've been pretty quiet, man. School's been kicking my ass, to be completely honest with you. I've just been buried in books. I just have a little break now. I've had a break from the end of November till February, so I've been trying to cram in as much as I can. But we're getting back to it, man. We have a couple episodes lined up now that are going to be a lot of fun. You guys want to check that out? I appreciate you guys. That's it for me.
And Hayden, where can everyone find you?
Everybody can find me on @the_Hayden_Wilder on Twitter and just @HaydenWilder on Instagram.
And you guys
And
can find me
I also-
on.
I also wanted, I forgot that I was just on the SNL Network podcast doing their third trivia night, and it was a really fun time. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
So you guys can find me on Twitter @CaptainK42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter @RenPopCulture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And you can also find me on the Banana Meter website, a new critic association that just launched. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Marquee. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.